mentioned earlier, readings for Sunday. And the reality is that in all our lives, and especially for me, we want to accomplish something significant. We want to know that our lives have counted, that they made a difference in this world. And when we put that hope in the Lord, we are not disappointed. So for the readings for today, when we look at the first reading, we're asking God for hearts like Solomon's. We may not be as wise as him ever, but hearts that know how to choose what is truly wise and good in the Lord's sight, and hearts that are shrewd, hearts that know how to discern trickery, human deception, hearts that know how to navigate what is human relationship. And in the psalm, the reordering of our lives. So for me as a woman, the psalm holds true. It's, Lord, how I love your law. And God's law is not a hard and fast law. It's not a law that seeks to punish and seeks to be punitive. It's a law that is compassionate and knows how to balance things, and doesn't want to make an example out of others. It's not a law that lords power over others. And the second reading is also one that I really love. It's about how God works all things for the good of those who love him, those who he has called according to his plan. God calls us from our young age. The scriptures, you don't need to go to university to learn about them. We are taught them in our homes. We are taught them from the time we are children. You don't need to get those degrees. And in fact, sometimes it's pointless getting those degrees, because especially in the Catholic Church, it's very hard to get paid employment, to get ministry work where people are giving you money so you can sustain your life. Sometimes it's pointless. Unless you're training to become a nun or become a priest, it's very much pointless, because the things that I'm doing now, I could have done them without those master's degrees and the diplomas I have. It's just that Sister Kathleen Flynn felt that it would help me in this country, which has so much discrimination and racism, and she encouraged me to do them because it would give me a equal footing to people in this country, because they think they're better than us. They think we don't understand, we're ignorant, we came from Africa, so what do we know? When in fact we have hearts that are closer to the gospel than they will ever get from reading and studying and doing theology formally. So anyway, I did it, and yes, it's enriched my life, but has it led to a job for me? No, it hasn't. So that's something I want to encourage others on, because often people will say to me, but you have degrees in theology and we have nothing. But you don't need those degrees. Those degrees and those qualifications were to build on what was already in my life. It's to build on what God was already doing in my life, my upbringing, my faith, knowing how I can take what is mine and use it in the world. You don't need a degree to do that. It's good to get it because it gives you a credential from here. It gives you a way of saying, I am equal to you. You might look down on me because I come from Africa, but I am equal to you in terms of my education, my upbringing, my knowledge of the scriptures, and that discernment that only God can give. And then with the gospel, we're given these 4 images here. And these 4 images are how God is with us. God is the one that he'll see us as a treasure in a field, and he'll give up everything just to have that treasure, just to have us with him. The second one is like the merchant in search of fine pearls, finding that pearl of great value. He sells everything to get that pearl. And the third one, the kingdom of heaven, is like a net thrown into a sea, and fish of every kind is caught and drawn ashore. And then at the end of time, God will sit down and put the good into baskets and throw out the bad. So it's similar to that parable of the growing of the seeds, where at the end of time, God will decide. God will say, this is good and this is bad. But he gives us the scriptures to read for our guideposts. And at the end of time, the angels will be with us. The angels will be there to judge with God what we've done and what we failed to do. And the scribe who has been trained for the kingdom is like the master of a household, who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old. And Jesus does that in his ministry. He doesn't completely disregard all his traditions, all his upbringing, everything that he has, but he brings out new things as well, which bring out the ultimate aims of God, of love. And those are the same things that we are aiming for. What Jesus did is what we are also aiming to do, to have lives of significance, to have lives that leave a good and lasting value, and to be able to discern between what is truly good and what is evil. Yesterday I watched this movie, Cadillac Records, and it's an old movie, and I watched it some time ago, but I watched it again, and it's just interesting to see, because if you go and you watch that Elvis movie that came out, not the documentary epic, the one before that, it shows you similar things about how when they used to have their concerts, they had a wire or a rope down the side, and on one side you had all the whites and on the other side you had everybody else, and how the music brought those barriers down. But yet how somebody of color will get targeted for doing the same thing that a white person is doing and put in jail. And that still happens today. It still happens today. And even the notion the white men don't want to be seen with their colored children or their visible minority women, and the put downs, they have that superior attitude in the way they speak to you, in the way they address you. It all comes out in this movie. And you know, the talents that we have, we use them to build up God's kingdom, but those talents are also used to enrich the business owners, the landowners. And that's again why I was saying I don't want to stay here. I want to go back to Zimbabwe, where I can also be a landowner and a business owner, and I can have opportunity, not to use people, but to also have my life come up and to have opportunities where my voice matters and my judgment is seen as good. Because in this culture, they don't want it, because they want to keep the status quo. Why would they want to change it? It works in their benefit for the white man. So there's this discernment that we have to do about our own lives too. And it's not that people have not tried to get me into the Archdiocese of Toronto. They have. But the doors just don't seem to be opening here. So I'm praying that God opens that right door for me, that right opportunity. And even if you look at the employment contract, one of the reasons I liked working at Teleperformance was because the guys were not hitting on me all the time. They were not leaning over me. They were not breathing on me. They were not coming up behind my computer and leaning over me. They had that respect to keep the distance, to say, can I sit at your computer? Let me show you something. Or come here to my desk and then bring your chair and sit beside me and we'll go through this. So that kind of an experience is good for me because that's what I like. And of course they were visible minority guys. They were not white, sorry to say. They were not white and they were not Egyptian. They were not from cultures where the men can think that they can do whatever they want. So these workplace experiences are also important because they shape us, they form us. HSBC was also like that. I had a black boss there. There was no leaning over me, no breathing on me. There was none of that. So it's important that we have those good experiences as well because they help us to be resilient, to keep going. Even in the church, I've been fortunate that I've had Father Larry because there's no favoritism. If he needs my skills, he uses them. Doesn't need my skills, he'll use somebody else. There's no favoritism in terms of the opportunities that I get. But there is setback because yes, I am a visible minority. Yes, I have had more challenges than others. I grew up without my father. All those things also shaped me. And when you try to explain it to somebody who has both their parents, instead of them showing understanding and compassion, they feel hurt. It's like, well, what would you like to have lost your dad at age 5? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's just to show you how to discern. And even if you watch the movies, if you watch what's happening, you know, they have gun crime, they have gambling that leads to deaths. And at the end, you see how the singers are taken care of. And they might think that, oh, they're doing this because they love us, but they're not. They're trying to just do the right thing. And that owner of that record company, they bring it out clearly in the movie. He says, I'm just trying to help you. Don't mistake it as love. Even if you sleep with them, they're not going to leave their wives. They're not going to leave their families. They'll just use you. They'll have sex with you, and then they'll use you, and they'll move on to the next one. And at the end, yeah, they might say, okay, I'll help you with this, you know, like your house is in jeopardy, you're losing everything, put it under my name. And then when I die, I'll give that house back to you so you don't land up with nothing. I'll manage it for you. That's what a good manager does. That's what Elvis did when he bought a house for his cook. It's called good management. It's not about, oh, they love us, so that's why they're doing all this. No. They have their families, they have their wives that they go home to. They can tell the whole world they love you. What are their actions saying to you? What are their actions proving to you? And what are my actions proving to you? That's what it is at the end of the day. It's having that heart of Solomon. I may never be as wise as Solomon or as shrewd as Solomon, but I still pray, Lord, give me a wise and discerning heart, so that you work all things for my good, so that I may be with you one day in paradise. And bless me in this life, so that I can also be a homeowner, a business owner, so that my ministry can be blessed. And if this has blessed you in any way, and you feel moved to help me financially, I would appreciate that. My talks are free, but I also have expenses that I need to keep up with.